Welcome to our channel, where the Bible comes to life. Join us as we explore the powerful stories found within its pages and uncover their timeless wisdom and relevance for our lives today. In today's video, we are going to look at the story of how the prophet Elisha helped a poor widow. This story can be found in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. So let's dive in and see what we can learn from this amazing account. The story begins by telling us that a prophet was going to Shunem. Now, Shunem was a town that was located near the Jordan River, and it was known for its fertile land and its hot springs. And this particular Shunammite was probably going there because he had a ministry in this area. It says here in verse 8 that he often visited this Shunammite woman because she was ceremonially clean. Now, if you're not familiar with what that means, basically it just means that she had gone through a purification ritual after giving birth or having her period and was now considered ritually pure and ready to worship God. But when the prophet came to visit her, he noticed that she was in deep distress and asked her why she was so upset. And she told him that she lived with her husband and son in a small cottage. But because they were poor, they had to rely on the prophet for food and other necessities. She said, "Your servant, my husband, is a poor man, and the land has had a famine. And I have said to your servant, my husband, 'Give me your pledge, which is with the creditor, that I may go out from his house and pay them before they take away the 2 boys, my little ones.' He said, 'No, my darling, do it by no means. What would I get in which to give you in hand?' And so she talked him out of pledging anything else. And then she went out and gathered all of their oil and went and sold it to make a little money to buy some food for herself and her family. But still, it wasn't enough to pay back what they owed. And it looks like it was lent for 3 years because she had to do this 3 times. So on the 3rd time that she went to sell their oil, she met a good man who gave her an advance on the oil so that she could get some money in her hand to pay off what she owed. That left her with only a small jar of oil left, and of course, she didn't have any money. So it looks like she decided to try one last thing. She took that jar of oil and went to the prophet and said, "What shall I do? I am clean, but my husband is poor. Here is the jar of oil." And as soon as she opened up the jar, it began to multiply in her hands until it filled up every vessel she had. After the jar was empty, she shut up the vessels. And the prophet was like, "What's going on here?" And he said to her, "Go, tell your husband that he must take his staff and come to me tomorrow morning." Now you might be wondering, what did the man do to deserve this favor from God? Well, nothing really. The text tells us that this was just an act of kindness from the prophet, who was known for his generosity and his compassion for the poor and needy. He saw this woman's desperate situation and he wanted to help her and her family. So early the next morning, the man went to see the prophet, and he brought with him 10 extra containers. And the prophet told him to do something crazy. He told him to fill those containers up with oil, not just once, but 10 times. Then it says that he filled them all up and said, "I never would have thought that God was gracious and would show mercy and would grant favor and compassion to the offspring of Abraham." Then the prophet told him to take the containers to a place called Gilead and sell them there, and he would use that money to pay off his debt. Now, Gilead was a region in the mountains east of the Jordan River, and it was known for its cedar forests and its skilled craftsmen. So the man did what the prophet told him to do, and he made a lot of money selling the oil in Gilead. In fact, he made so much money that he ended up with 10 times more than he had before. So they paid back all of their debts, and they even had enough money left over to live comfortably for a long time. This story is a wonderful example of God's power to provide for His people, even when they are in desperate need. It also shows us the importance of faith and obedience. The Shunammite woman and her husband were people of faith. They believed in God and they trusted in His promises. When the prophet told them to do something crazy, like filling up those jars 10 times, they didn't question it. They just did what he told them to do, and they trusted God for the rest. We can learn a few lessons from this story. First, we can learn the importance of being generous. The prophet was a generous man, and he was willing to help the poor and needy. He didn't hesitate to give this woman and her family what they needed, even though he didn't know if God was going to bless them with money to replace the oil they lost. He just did it because he had compassion on them. Second, we can learn the importance of trusting God. This couple put their trust in God, and they knew that he would provide for them. Even when things seemed bleakest, they didn't give up hope. And God rewarded their faith by providing for them in a miraculous way. And third, we can learn the importance of following God's instructions. When the prophet gave them instructions, they didn't argue or complain. They just did what he told them to do, and it worked out for them in the end. God wants us to follow his instructions, and when we do, he will bless us. There are so many other great stories like this one in the Bible, and we encourage you to watch more videos and find out what they are. Thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please don't forget to share it with your friends and family. Let us know in the comments below what you liked about the video. We love reading your comments and responding to them as often as we can. Remember to subscribe for more awesome videos like this one. We release new videos every week. God bless you, and remember, Jesus loves you.